Well, we are only financed by the streets. Since all of the work is completely based on volunteering time and efforts, well, there are no salaries, there's no real structure, so to speak, aside from the organizational one I told you about before. So, when we need a certain amount of money for a certain event, what we do is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is definitely the best way to try to earn money. And I can give you an example. Like the X tour is a proposal we made where we wanted to see if the citizens were motivated in joining us. And so we did was tour around and give talks to everybody that wanted to hear us and tell them about Partido X and all of the things that were involved and linked with us. So all of the X tour that we did was completely crowdfunded. And what can I say? I mean, outside of this, well, for many events that we have to do, we just turn to crowdfunding. For us, there's no other way, really. Like I said before, we are not led by any type of ideology. What can I say? If the result or the outcome that we reach is linked by people more to the left-wing side than the right-wing side, well, I mean, this doesn't bother us at all. Ever since we were created, it depends also on the eyes that are examining us. For example, to some we are radically left-wing, to others we are fascists. We've also toyed around with the language that was being used, which is a very important thing for us, actually. For example, when we built a program that was unrelated to our main purpose, what we did was use a motto that was the right to undertake. And by the right to undertake, I mean the right to undertake the crisis, the right to undertake anything. Well, when this occurred, we received a lot of critical comments from the left wing saying, oh, we're not really left wing anymore, now you're right wing. So, I mean, you have to understand that Partido X is not yet widely diffused or known by many people. So, what we do is bring to the table proposals that break the table, so to speak, and that are very different to other types of proposals that are made. What we also want to do with this is break the language barrier that is taking place. For example, I've noticed that some words or phrases are especially linked to the left-wing movements, while others are linked to the right-wing movements. And personally, what we want to do is end this. I mean, I think that language should belong to everyone, and this language shouldn't be linked to any type of political views or ideas. I mean, just because we use one word instead of another, this shouldn't make us left-wing or right-wing. It shouldn't. We have always been against zoos because it takes away society's incentives. I mean, I must admit I am easily bored and bothered by conversations where people only criticize what is occurring without offering solutions or taking action. We have always focused on our purposes and goals and not on the criticism that we may or may not receive. I think that anyone that looks at our work ethic and ways would never criticize us for being abusive or anything of the sort. We have always tried to focus on being positive. For example, in corruption cases, we put to work a mechanism of citizen complaints and involve this process as well. What can I say? I mean, we get many complaints and many sorts of things, but what we could do is focus on all of the rubbish that comes in. But personally, I don't think that's the way, and so we don't do this. For example, in corruption cases, well, I mean, this doesn't lead anywhere and it's definitely not beneficial for anyone or for everyone. I mean, what we try to do is work with information that can help our purpose, and we try to make the positive side out of everything. We try not to stick with the negative, we try not to stick with the complaints. I mean, we always look for a better path and try to gain short-term victories, so to speak. In regards to the political candidacy, well, we retired from that because we saw that the battle is lost and that it's something difficult to win at, and overall, I can say that it is not in our interest to keep in that battle. We are definitely very honest with one another, and above everything, we are also honest with ourselves. And like I said, not only with each person, but within the group. So if we see any traditional old views or styles, well, personally, we don't follow them because that's not of interest to us. But I mean, this is also an ethical choice, not just something linked to the Partido X. We want to be honest above everything, and if we don't agree with something, like I said before, we don't follow it. Others may do it, and I'm definitely not criticizing what others may do, but as for Partido X, that just isn't the way that we work. An insanity. At the same time, I mean, I think it's normal because those people in power, what they want to do is maintain that type of power above everything. And hey, they're going to fight with that until the end. Personally, I don't think that this is surprising at all. Well, in a certain way, yes. We don't like the word fight or struggle because it is also politically linked, but I would say that more than a struggle, it is a responsibility to push forward. But yes, I mean, in a certain way, yes. And this violence is, especially on the streets, to the problems that we are finding ourselves with now. And poverty. Poverty is on the streets as well, so yes, there's violence, but of course, we don't want this to occur. We rather have other mechanisms and tools to fight the issues away, or not to have to turn to violence, so to speak. I think that there's no other way sometimes. If we had options to get the government to hear us out, well, obviously, we would try to work with them and push with them instead of being violent. But let's be honest with each other. Violent groups have always existed. Manifestations have always been positive, although we personally believe, like I've mentioned before, that these assemblies don't go all the way in regards to the goals that we personally need to accomplish. I mean, these are useful, these are correct, definitely, but we need to be everywhere. Right now, with the situation that's occurring, we need the victory. And what I would like people to know is that manifestations or protests are not the only way to go. I mean, not only manifestations or not only assemblies can work, and not only violence can work. I mean, I think that there are other ways. For me, right now, corruption is a network that has been established around power. During the last years, well, criminal networks have been formed. And from a legislative point of view, laws have been passed to favor some. And at the same time, what has happened is that this hasn't favored others. If we concentrate all of the power that is available in the hands of certain people, well, this happens. This is why I personally believe that power needs to be separated or dispersed into different types of people and not just held by certain people, because then these types of things happen. But I think the worst part of all of this is that there's a rougher or tougher form of corruption. This type of corruption is harder to take down than other types of corruption, such as, oh, you're my friend, so I'm going to do a favor for you. Maybe that type of corruption is easier to catch and easier to break down, but there's corruption on a national level that is really huge. And the problem is that the fact that it's really huge makes it really hard to fight. But I think that we can't stop now, and we have to try to change it in some way. We can't deter or falter because it exists. I mean, no, I don't know it enough to be able to formulate an opinion on it. Some manifestations come to mind, but I'm not sure. I mean, what I can tell you is that I don't think it's the way that I would go about things. Like I said before, there are different ways to getting to the same point, and what we have to do is try to create solutions. Now, one thing is clear to me is we can't just criticize everything that's going on. And like I said before, I don't want to be one to judge and I don't want to be one to criticize what others do because everyone here is free to do as they wish. And like I said, there are many different types of solutions to get to the same place, but what happens is that each person has to find or finds the best way or route to get to be victorious, whether this is using violence or not,